All right, guys. Hey, Jason here. For the love of tractors, it's 4th of July weekend. So happy Independence Day to everybody here in America, and just happy weekend to everybody else all around the world. So anyway, I asked on Instagram for questions for this question and answer thing, and so I thought, well, hey, let's do that. Um, I'm only going to answer a few because honestly, there's enough that I can probably do a couple of these videos, and if I do this too long, you guys aren't going to watch anyway. So might as well do two. We'll do one now, maybe one, next weekend or something. So anyway, the first question, I thought it was a great question actually, was the actual question was, do I remember my first farm toy? And I do, actually. I still have my first farm toy. So this is a 40 series John Deere 4-wheel drive. You can see it's 40 series because it's got the exhaust and intake on this side. This came from Kroenke Implement in Hall, Illinois, and it was given to me when I was about 1 year old for a birthday present. So anyway, as you can see, paint is it's dusty, but paint is excellent on it. It was played with, but I was pretty careful not to bump into things, and if I got something dirty, I typically would clean it up. So decals are still pretty good on it, and paint's still good on it, and there you go. So that was my first farm toy. All right, so the second question, and this was from our buddy Bo, was, did I start carpet farming? Basically, how did I get my start into farm toys? And absolutely, I started carpet farming. I think that's how probably a lot of us do it, huh? Yeah, so and then he asked if there were any specific toys I remember, in along the way. So yes, that's how I started. I started carpet farming, and I just sort of had the typical 1980s Erdl tractors at the time, the kind of the John Deere, which would have been like 40, 50, 60 series, two-wheel drive tractors, things like that. We had a bunch of the Ford FW tractors, and all sorts of stuff like that. Probably the implement I remember the most was the Case IH Air Seeder, the original one that they brought out. I know they reissued it here about 10 years ago, but that original one was probably the first implement I remember, and I just remember it being big, and then I used that on a John Deere 60 series 4-wheel drive, so like an 8860 or whatever. It wasn't an 8960, but so anyway, and I kind of remember, we had sort of shaggy carpet at the time, and I remember all the teeth on the air seeder would catch on the carpet and get tangled, so I'd have to pull it out. And then at some point, I kind of had like this my bedroom / playroom. We got like a nice low carpet on that, and I could plow all day long with that thing. So anyway, that was cool. So that's kind of the first one I remember, and it's close by. I could probably dig it up and show it to you, but oh no, actually I know exactly where it's at. It's at my shop, so I can't show it to you. Anyway, so all right. So the next question I was gonna answer was, what do I use for dirt? And I know, like, Toby asked this a little bit sarcastically, because I get asked this question literally daily, and that's fine. I'm glad to help. We joke about it a little bit, but I'm always glad to answer the question. I use dirt. So I get dirt from a field or my backyard, wherever I need to do it, let it dry, sift it, and then that fine sifted dirt, you're ready to use for dirt. You lay down your Elmer's glue, your white glue, your Mod Podge, your whatever you're using, matte medium, sprinkle it on there, and you're ready to go. You're ready to work some ground. So anyway, I use dirt for dirt. Okay, another one of the questions I had was, what was the first custom tractor that I did? So I remember my dad, we had one of those Case, back when they were still white and orange. We had one of those Case two-wheel drives from Erdl, like, the standard 70s Erdl tractor. Wasn't quite proportioned right, had really terrible hard tires on it, etc., etc. We had another tractor that the wheels had kind of broken off of or whatever, and we took Elmer's glue and we glued duals onto that. Now, I mean, I'm 5 years old here, maybe 7 at the most. I remember the duals didn't stay on very well, because obviously Elmer's glue's not it's not the best glue in the world for holding tires on a tractor, but that was my first custom. So And then once I really kind of got into it a little more, as I got older and things like that, of course, then I started customizing a lot of John Deere at the time, because we had a John Deere implement nearby, and we used a lot of John Deere equipment at the time on the farm. So I think probably the 8000 series is really about the era that 8400 or whatever, it's probably really about the era I started doing customization. So obviously it started with tire swaps, and I think at the time I was really into the metric tires from Standy Toys at the time, now Mini Toy Truck and Tractor. And so, and I've got a few of those that you've seen if you've seen my collection videos. Those are my first, for sure. Anyway. Okay, the next question that I wanted to answer was, will I do a farm tour? So, I've got videos of the real farm all over this channel. Doing a farm tour, I mean, like, I couldn't just sit down and do one like straight through. It'd be 2-hour video because we're spread out all over the place. So the way we're set up is we've got kind of the main farm. It's got our shop. It's got our big barn where the combine's kept. It's got a machine shed and a Quonset hut where we keep some tractors and implements. Then you have to go a few miles up into town, and then we've got our big shed where all the semi-trucks are kept, and then over in other places where all the grain bins are. So it's just kind of the way it works. But like I said, I've done, if you want to see what we do, how we farm, I've got videos. I mean, we don't have anything super fancy or anything like that. We're just kind of, we're farming. That's how we do it. It's how I think how most people do it. We're not one of those, brand new John Deere quad track auto steer type of farms. We're kind of one of those 10-year-old Case IH quad track manual steer type of farms. So anyway, like I said, I've got tons of videos of that. Feel free to look through those. There's a playlist of all real farm videos that I've got. So, okay, let me look here, because I'm kind of blanking out, and I've got another question I was going to ask. Oh, okay, this is a good one. So, Custom Farmers, who's you've seen around if you're on a Discord and things like that, does really great custom work. He asked, what is my advice for anyone getting into selling custom farm toys? And I'll just open that up to farm toys in general. So the first step is patience, because it takes a while to get there, to be honest with you. Building up inventory is hard. If you're going to sell a piece at a time here and there, that's fine. I did that for years, to be honest with you, before I really kind of went, okay, now we've got to kind of get serious about this. So, do the best work you can do. Be prepared for bumps in the road. There's going to be bumps in the road, guys, with anything you do, but particularly with custom farm toys, because, you ship it, the UPS guy decides he's going to football it all the way to the front door from his truck instead of dropping it off, or, whatever. A million things happen. Something gets broke. The customer calls you. He's ticked because he's got a broken piece. You might be refunding that money. He's shipping it back for you to fix, etc., etc. There's a million scenarios. To be nice to people. I mean, when you really get involved with it, you're going to get a ton of questions. Can you build this? Can you build that? Can you build this? Can you build that? You have to know your limits on that. You can't build everything. You just can't. And you turn people down, and sometimes people get ticked that you turn them down like it's a personal insult. It's not. It's just the way it is. Because you can't build everything, and you still have to build for yourself. And sometimes if you're doing this, as a business, and you can't really necessarily take the R&D hours to build something completely from scratch new, at certain times of the year, because you're actually filling other orders or trying to get inventory built or whatever. So there's that. The third thing I would say is do not undersell yourself. I think that's the number one thing I see when new guys come in. They say, okay, I'm going to sell this stupid cheap, and that way people want it and sell it, and etc., etc. Cheap in the farm toy world, in the custom farm toy world, has a really limited market. There's only a few. You're gonna saturate that market quickly, and trust me, there's plenty of other guys doing it. What you want is quality. So quality is where it's at. Now, that doesn't mean you can't aim for a price point. For example, let's say you're like, I want to make $50 custom tractors, because there's a pretty good market for the $50 custom tractor. So you still have to do the best work you can do for that $50 custom tractor. By the way, that market is going to start moving up, because at this point in time where I'm making this video, a tractor is costing you $15 and tires are costing you $25. Well, guess what? You put that together, you didn't make any money. So anyway, that's my advice on that. Don't undersell yourself. Don't underprice your product. You've got to make money on it. If it's good, it will sell. That's the bottom line there. Don't be afraid to go to like the Facebook auction pages and just try to sell something on there. That's when I come out with something new, I do that a lot. I just throw it up on Facebook auctions, on the farm toy and model auction page or whatever, because I can kind of get a gauge of the interest there, and I can kind of get a gauge of where the price is going to be. Now, obviously, the first time you do something, the first time somebody's seen something, it's probably going to go a little higher than you would sell retail, but it gives you an idea. There's kind of, once you're in it a little bit, you'll figure it out. So, sorry, that kind of took a while, but okay, I got 2 more I want to get through. Sorry, I'm already up to 11 minutes, guys. I apologize. I love farm toys. I talk a lot. What can I say? Okay, the other question, and my buddy Kyle asked me this, is if you could, would you do farm toys for a living? Yes. No question about it. I would drop everything else I do and do this if I could. So there's this thought, like, it can be done. There's a couple guys doing it. There's not a lot of guys doing it. There's a couple guys doing it. There's a lot of guys doing it as side businesses. And a lot of guys doing it as side businesses are making a lot of people's full-time money doing it. But for me, reselling new in the package stuff is hardly worth it. Making $1 or $2 on a toy. There's so much competition for new in the package stuff. I just don't see it. I can't compete with the big guys, really. I mean, you can, because if you're going to get them wholesale, for the most part, you're going to get the price that they're getting, but their overhead may be lower, their shipping may be lower because they ship so much, etc., etc. It's hard to compete with those guys. So where I have to live and make money is custom toys. And then where the real money is at is expensive custom toys, but that market's limited. So it's tricky. I put a lot of pen to paper trying to figure out how to make it happen. And I'll just be 100% honest, on an almost daily basis, I go from I can do this to I don't think I can do this. I don't know, guys. Trying to make it happen. I'm not going to lie, that's my goal. I think a lot of people in the farm toy world try not to tell people their plans. I think a lot of people are afraid to go out and say, I want to do this for a living, because it sounds silly on the surface. You want to sell toys for a living. It almost sounds silly. It sounds silly to the people who don't do farm toys, that's for sure. But to those of us that are really passionate about it, which I think are you guys, it absolutely is, a dream for a lot of us. And I don't know. I'm trying to figure it out. That's the only thing I can say there. The last question also came from Kyle. It's a bit related, and that was, how did I get my following at farm toy shows? So that's a little different than the YouTube thing or the Instagram thing, and I think you guys know how to do that. You just got to be persistent. You got to use your tags. You got to get out there and meet people. You got to be friendly, answer questions. Just put out content people want to watch. And I'm always amazed that I do that. But I appreciate you guys watching. Trust me. So my strategy for selling at a farm toy show, and that was always a dream of mine from a kid. I always thought, wouldn't it be cool to go stay at a hotel for a weekend and sell farm toys? And it is cool. It turns out it's super cool. So one, getting the amount of inventory needed to do that is tricky. We basically decided in maybe October or so, and I say we, myself, and then I told my wife, and then we finally went, okay, all right, we'll try this. In October of last year, with the sights set for our first show to be the Mark Twain show in Quincy, Illinois, on February 23rd of that year. So I went, okay, now I've got to build. Well, it turns out pumping out inventory is way harder than you think pumping out inventory is. There's a lot of distractions along the way, and of course I have a regular job, so I may only get an hour a night or 2 hours a night if I'm lucky to build. Well, it turns out you can't really pop out too many custom pieces in a couple hours a night. Now, last night I sat down, I turned a movie on, and I knocked out 3 of these. Now, they were all painted. I've painted everything. I've kind of got a new strategy for building inventory. And it's working. I think, because I popped out 3 of these in an evening last night. When I say an evening, I mean less than 2 hours. That's about all I had to work with, unfortunately. So, and I did some other work too, just some miscellaneous stuff. I pulled the tires off of this guy, and I took apart a 2+2 because why not? so on and so forth. So you might be saying, like, how does it take you 2 hours to put together a 7-shank disc chisel? Well, this goes back to the quality situation. I want them to be perfect. I don't want glue globs everywhere. I want to have hydraulic hoses. I want everything to be straight and well attached, etc., etc. So, again, it takes a while. So, anyway, I guess I got a little off topic there. So what I decided was, because like I said, for years I wanted to do this. My whole life I've wanted to do this. I thought it was the coolest job in the world. And unfortunately, as I get older, people keep telling me, oh, toy shows are dying, toy shows are dying, toy shows are dying. I don't believe that necessarily. I mean, yeah, we're having less and less toy shows, and that's unfortunate. But when I go to a toy show, every toy show I've been to in the last 5 years has had excellent turnout. So the need is there, the want is there. It's the can you get enough dealers to show up, and etc., etc. So basically what happened was, it's something I always wanted to do. And then it got to the point where, I'll say a couple years ago, the For the Love of Tractors Facebook page was, 30,000 plus followers. I had started Instagram, we're up to almost, I think we're at 7,000. I can't remember, to be honest with you. And then, the YouTube thing started taking off. And it wasn't until, like, I'll say last year at St. Louis, not 2020, but 2019, where I was walking through rooms, walking through the crowds, and people were going, hey, you're Jason for the Love of Tractors. It's mind-blowing when someone walks up to you and they know you and they like what you do and you have no idea who they are. Mind-blowing. It's so cool. Anyway, so my wife saw that, and she goes, you kind of got to, like, get in on this. And I'm like, what do you mean? And she's like, people will probably come to your room if you get a room just to talk to you. And I'm like, you think? Like, I don't ever think that way. Like, it just, I don't know. I just don't ever think that way. Well, so anyway, that's where, like, okay, we're going to try it. Like I said, finally in October of 2019, I made my decision. Let's do this. Because I honestly kind of thought, like, hey, maybe there are enough people that will be like, hey, Jason's at the Quincy show. Let's go see what he's selling. I'd love to see his Steigers in person. I'd love to see his Kraus in person. I'd love to ask him this, or I'd just like to meet him. And, well, it turns out it worked. So, nervous as heck. I'm like, oh my gosh, what if we came and it cost us all this money and we've got all this inventory and we don't sell a single thing, and what if our stuff stinks, and what if the people hate me, and then we were there for like 2 hours, and it was the coolest. I'm like, this is the coolest thing I've ever done. Coolest thing. So basically what I did, and I think it was a good working strategy to circle back around to the question, is I built a following online first, and then I went, hey, I'm here, come find me. And I think it worked pretty good. Like, it's at Lafayette again, I had a lot of people just come in to say, hey, I just came to see you. That was so cool. And like, I'm always humbled by that. And it's like, it's great because like, regular life, my real job and stuff, it can be frustrating, and you deal with people and they're not always the nicest people, and you kind of get down on yourself and down on it, and etc., etc. But in the farm toy world, I really don't have that. I just have people come and they just want to talk tractors. I talked, I don't know, I just talked like toys and antique tractors with guys at like Lafayette and Quincy for 3 days each, and it was just the coolest thing. So anyway, guys, I don't know. That's it. So that's how I did it. Now, other guys have built followings completely without social media at toy shows, just by going consistently, having stuff that people want, and so on and so forth. And that's the way they've done it. But like I said, for me, I built the online following first and then went to a toy show. The great thing about a toy show is people are there not to see you necessarily. They're there to see the toys that everybody else has as well, and they're going to walk through your room and see your stuff. So, all right, guys. I think that'll do it. I'm at 20 minutes. I apologize, guys. I did not mean to take 20 minutes to do this video. I'd hope to have it out in 10. But, it's a holiday weekend, and what else we got to do? So, all right, guys, be safe this weekend. I know this is one of those weekends where people go out, have a good time, party, blow things up, stuff. I almost said stuff and things at the same time. Blow things up, etc., etc. Be careful. You can't build farm toys without fingers. So be careful, guys. All right. Love you all. Thank you for watching. As always, have yourselves a great day. Happy tractor hunting.